Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today we are taking a hands-on look at the Tinwoo Quartz. This is a budget smartwatch that sells for around 50 bucks. And what makes it a little bit more unique than many of the other generic smartwatches we've seen is it uses its own companion app, which the company have designed themselves, and has a closer attention to detail when it comes to some of the software elements and some of the custom watch faces that you can pick from. And inside we have a microfiber cleaning cloth. There's also a proprietary charging cable that uses magnetic contacts to attach onto the back of the watch for charging, and just the quick user manual. Taking a closer look at the watch here, first of all, initial impressions is the construction quality is quite good. The dimensions though are pretty typical for a smartwatch. It has a 1.3-inch TFT LCD display, which is fully touch sensitive, allows you to interact with it, and it's quite easy to use. We'll talk about the software later, but for now, the frame of the watch is made out of an aluminum alloy shell, so just like other smartwatches we've seen recently, it does feel very solid and sturdy. The slimness is also quite compact compared to something like a more advanced smartwatch such as the TicWatch Pro. You can see that it's significantly thicker here and a lot chunkier and heavier. Otherwise, in the back here we just have an optical heart rate sensor, and there's also a crown key that you can tap on to wake the screen up and to power the watch on. The watch bands themselves are removable, and Tinwoo does offer a few different versions of this watch. This one here comes with a Velcro strap, which is pretty comfortable, and it's a little bit different than most of the other kind of rubber straps that we've been seeing on other smartwatches. You can also pick ones which are made out of stainless steel, so they do have a bit more of customization. Alright, so jumping into the software, it's where things get a bit more interesting. To start off with, we have more watch faces than the typical budget Shenzhen-based $50 smartwatch that we've seen in the past. This one here actually shows the temperature throughout the entire week based on your current location from your phone. It also tells you the current weather, the humidity, the UV level, as well as the current wind level. Simply open up the app for the first time, and all of this is just transferred over. A really seamless process that you don't have to even think about. Of course, this is only one of several watch faces that you can use to pick from. If we tap on this, you can take a look at some other options which are more traditional, and another one here which is more digital, reminds me more of an Apple Watch. Another one which is more conventional. This one here has a wallpaper, but it doesn't display as much information. Another digital one, and one more with larger font. It's worthwhile to note that even on these watch faces, some of the icons are interactive, like widgets. For example, if I tap on number of steps, it will take me into that particular app and see at what points in time I was most active. So it's not only a static image, but these elements can be clicked on as well. Another interesting thing is if you long hold on this main screen, it doesn't take you to changing this watch face, but instead it makes the screen brighter. So you can see there an ultra bright mode for short durations if you're outdoors in really bright sunlight and still want to read the screen. Yet another interesting thing about the software is when you are using it at night, for example, past 10 p.m., and you're in bed, it's going to automatically turn off certain features, such as the gesture of raising your wrist, which will automatically turn on the display, just to conserve on battery and prevent any accidental triggers. Other areas of the navigation, though, are pretty typical. We can actually swipe down to take a look at our last 5 notifications, whether that's email or text messages, anything that comes through from the phone. You get a quick snippet of what some of those messages are. You can't really reply to these messages, but it is functional. I can swipe up to access a ultra power saving mode, which turns the display brightness lower. It also turns off the raise your wrist to wake the screen function. In addition, it stops tracking your sleep at night. So if you want sleep tracking, you have to use it in the regular mode. By the way, the sleep tracking works quite well in terms of differentiating between light versus deep sleep. However, it's not always on, such as on Huawei's Honor bands, which can recognize if you're taking naps during the day, for example. The sleep tracking here works automatically if you're sleeping at night. There's also a do not disturb mode that will turn off notifications. You can tap on this to control music on your phone. It kind of brings up just a controller pad for listening to music. And there's also going to be a finding your phone. So the phone there will start to ring to quickly see where it is if you have the Bluetooth connected. And by the way, it uses Bluetooth 5.0. In terms of other ratings, the watch is IP68, so it's waterproof. You can use this when taking a shower, you can use it when washing your hands, when going for a swim, and it will still survive. Otherwise, though, in terms of sensors, it is pretty typical. It's really just the software optimization, which the company have done really well on with these tiny little tweaks that makes this really nice to use. But in terms of hardware, it's nothing spectacular. For example, there's no built-in GPS, so if you want to track your location on a map, you still need to bring along your phone to do that. There's also no additional features like blood oxygen level or blood pressure or ECG measurement, for example. But anyways, returning here on the left of the home screen, you can see a quick number of steps, kilometers, and calories burned for the day. Again, tapping on these takes us to the same graph view as we saw earlier on the widgets. One more page over shows our heart rate. You can have continuous heart rate turned on or off. It shows a log of your previous measurements. And if you have it turned on, it will take a measurement once every hour. There's also your last sleep activity that was tracked. And then finally on the right side is where you'll find additional controls for things like going into 8 sports modes. Something that is kind of interesting on this watch is everything is, for the most part, shown using icons and symbols instead of using text. So it's very sparse on the actual descriptions, but it is pretty easy to figure out. There's soccer, basketball, ping pong, badminton, biking, hiking, running, and just walking. Again, basically, whenever you tap on a mode, it will show a simplified interface of the time, the distance, as well as your continuous heart rate during that entire session. So it will track that continuous fluctuations as you are performing that sport. Over here, we also have the basic stopwatch and timer functions, which do work quite well. Again, animations on this watch are a little bit abrupt. Like there's not really a smooth transition between screens, similar to some of the other smartwatches that we've seen before. But it really reminds me of the Amazfit Bip in that regard. There is also no back gesture for swiping on the edge of the screen for going back by one page. There's usually just one dot on this top there that you have to tap on. That is one control that I do wish they could implement, but that's something that I can perhaps add in the software later on. The final feature here is a breathing guide, so similar to, say, Samsung's and Apple's smartwatches, it tells you to prepare to breathe in and breathe out to kind of calm yourself down for meditation. Otherwise, the battery life of this watch is rated to last between 7 days to 14 days, depending on how often you're using features like the continuous heart rate measurement and how often you're syncing information. All right, so going over now to the companion app. As aforementioned, this is custom, so the interface itself is not the prettiest looking, but it is, again, very functional and catered specifically for their own smartwatches. So we can see the number of steps we've taken during the day. The ring will turn yellow when we've reached our daily goal. Calories burned, distance walked, latest heart rate, sleep are all going to be displayed here. I can tap on this ring for some more details of the points in the graph during the day. So you can see that when you were most active, average number of steps taken during the day, completion rate, if you have any trophies, which are basically small rewards for completing your goal, as well as your statistics for various sports are also aggregated. Finally, during the entire month, you can see a different view there, in addition to during the year. We can also see our sleep data, of course, which again works pretty well in terms of its accuracy, as long as you're sleeping in that regular span. Sometimes it's off by maybe 30 minutes, but it's not bad. It's comparable to other smartwatches and gives you an estimate of how many hours in general that you've been sleeping during that day. Other features in the app, including accessing the AGPS, which is relying on the aforementioned GPS on your phone to track your location on a map when you're doing something like a sports, a run, or a jog. So that's the part that you have to activate. Under the Help Center, you can see some additional tutorials and help guides. Settings here is where things get a bit more interesting. You can use the watch to take photos, acting as a selfie key. Under device, you can take a look at different temperature units. You can turn on when you want to activate alerts and notifications, whether you want various gestures to be turned on or off. And then under sports is where you're able to change things like your step goal, as well as different alerts for your heart rate. So you can actually turn on an alert. So if your heart rate exceeds a certain number, like 160 beats per minute, it will actually give you a pop-up warning. By the way, you can even change the vibration motor controls. So if I take a look at the step goal, you can change the vibration type from staccato, which is just buzz, 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 into something like a wave pattern, a quick, a heartbeat, radiate. So all types of different ways for the vibration motor to give you those notifications. So again, a lot of customization that you simply won't find in other budget smartwatches, from changing even the vibration motor's intensity and way that it buzzes. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Tinwoo Quartz. Everything just works really well out of the box, syncing is extremely smooth, and the controls are also quite thoughtful and slightly different from the typical smartwatch we've seen, like accessing an ultra-bright display mode, having some breathing pattern guides, from having mostly icons to control things instead of text, just makes it look quite clean, and overall just, again, having great integration with notifications, with weather, which just works as you would expect. So all in all, if you're looking for a reliable budget smartwatch, something that can act as a nice competitor to the Amazfit Bip, primarily I'd say because it has a brighter display, a slightly more premium design made out of glass and aluminum instead of plastic, this is actually worth a closer look because of how stable it performs and having a custom application out of the box. Even though it may be missing some of the features like GPS, it compensates it with, again, a better quality screen, so it just depends on what you are looking for, but this is a great alternative, I'd say, in the budget segment. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below. A great smartwatch for casual everyday use. That's been the Tinwoo Quartz. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.